So I think at this point, I've tried being employed for so long. I made a video a while back how I did over 2,000 job applications and still was unemployed. And I ended up moving with my wife from Los Angeles, California to St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm originally from. Luckily with my wife in her industry, it was very easy, I would say, for her to get a job because it's a high demanding job. Unfortunately, with the skill sets that I have, it's a little bit nuanced and I am a bit what I would say a generalist. That being said, I actually did get a job at the end of 2025. It's actually my first ever corporate job after working for myself for what seems like my entire life. The last actual formal job I actually ever had that wasn't something that I did for myself was actually working at an IHOP when I was maybe like 17 or 18 years old. I can't really remember, but I only worked at IHOP for about 6 months. So besides that, I only did like music work, web work that was contracting, did a startup. Like I did a whole bunch of other work that paid and did well, but was not a formal job, which is why I do think a lot of the issues that I ran into with applying to jobs, I have legitimate skills. I'm able to demonstrate those skills in an interview, discuss them, talk with them, and represent them in a resume, but I did not have Meta. I did not have Google, NVIDIA, any of these like big random companies on my resume. There was no like formal stamp of approval other than what I've done for myself. To get your foot in the door is already a challenge. And so what a lot of companies, from my understanding and from my experience, is they look for a reference point. It's kind of like a checkbox. Like, okay, is it coming from reputable school? Is it then coming from a reputable company that they know? Is it from the same industry? And when you don't check off enough boxes, you are just usually not given an opportunity. Long story short, I struggled with ever finding a job. Anyways, being back in Missouri, I actually ended up finding a job and getting a job. It's a sales job that was outside my industry scope, but I was able to demonstrate in the interview that I had sales experience. Pretty easy shot to get the job, and later realized that in sales they typically hire anyone that's able to breathe. Because with sales, it is usually a more high churn industry. There needs to be a certain level of competency and speaking, but at the end of the day, you could really teach anyone how to sell. It's just the willingness, will they have that drive to sell and close? Anyways, at the end of 2025, I got that sales job, but about close to a month now, I actually quit willingly on my end, even though I was a top sales rep on my team. There was multiple teams in the organization, and what products they sold or which client base that they would take on, their lead pools. In my team, I was actually one of the top, if not the top sales rep. How I got to that point was actually pretty simple. It was a philosophy of what I call retard maxing, because in sales, I felt like that was all you needed to do, which was totally fine. But what wasn't fine was the fact that I was working 40 to 50 hours a week at this job, making fine money. I would say it was not good money. It was not necessarily bad money. The people at the company were actually great. I have no qualms about most of the people at the company. I didn't like company meetings. I did not like that company structure, though. That being said, after working there, I would still come home and work on my own stuff. And then on the weekends, I would be working on my own stuff as well. So when we added up all the hours that I would actually be working, including that job, it was usually around 60 to 75 hours a week, which was quite a lot. And part of the reason why I was focused on my own stuff was because I knew that me being at this company was more temporary. It was not going to be a long, it's not a company job that you really stay in for a long period of time. You can, and you will then prosper making over 6 figures or around 6 figures, which in St. Louis County, Missouri standards is actually really good money. But I didn't have that endurance, nor did I felt like I could see myself doing that. And that being said, I wanted to quit. And so now I am back being unemployed. Though technically, I guess I'm not, because I'm back to working for myself. And so what I've learned was during that period of working for 6 months was the fact that I don't know if I could go back in that corporate structure, at least in that environment. And I don't know, I can't speak to what every corporate structure is. And I'm sure if there was a great job that came up that spoke very close to me, that, it's going to be feeding off of the knowledge and base that I know about, I would be probably very interested in pursuing it. But I've been looking for jobs like that, and I haven't found many. Ultimately, the amount of effort I put into looking for a job, I could have just put them back into like working for myself, like how I've done for the last 12 to 13 years, where I've actually built something that generated revenue that was off of the back of me and the people that I worked with efforts, rather than just getting hired at a company. I think in a lot of ways people are going to say, well, you're technically not unemployed because you're working for yourself. But when you talk to like people that are older, your family members, they and this isn't at no shun to them, but like if you're not making a certain amount or having that company 401k structure or having that health insurance through that company, they don't really view you working for yourself as a real job. It's kind of like a hobby. Even though you might be making real money or past livable money, they don't view it as a real structure because it's not guaranteed every week or whatever it might be. If what I experienced for that 6 months is what I would need to experience, but different jobs, different tasks, but roughly the same thing at another company, I don't know if I can do that. I think I'm going to stick forward and do my own stuff. And so now you might be wondering, well, what are you going to do, Andrew? Well, I'm just going to do what I've always done. I'm going to work on the music contracting that I've done, the music e-commerce. Going to be focusing mostly, though, on providing web AI technology solutions for regional and small businesses. Already have a few clients that I've been working with, great people, and I have been able to provide real tangible evidence and solutions that have improved their business structures, doing selling on that front. Because it's something I'm passionate about. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best coder, the developer, best web designer. I'm definitely not. There's better people out there. But I think what I bring to the table is a all-in-one solution that helps these companies. The next thing is I'm going to be actually picking up these YouTube videos more often. I would like to share some of the stuff that I'm working on, share some of my own thoughts about certain technology climates, in certain unfiltered opinions of sorts, whatever it may be. In addition, I've been working passionately on this game that I originally started as a AI slop game. I say AI slop because it was just generic AI prompting and with AI assets. But over the span of a few months, though, I've been actually kind of turning it into something hopefully legitimate, where maybe it can become a fully fledged release game that I put on Steam. And I kind of want to document this journey on this YouTube channel to kind of show what I've been doing. And maybe there's other people that actually relate to this philosophy that I have, where maybe the corporate structure isn't a good fit for you. And so what will you do to figure out a route that does work out while making enough money to, support your family and be able to retire? And so I think, documenting this journey and making these videos will be very important, because I think they will provide a level of not only maybe education, but also motivation for those that face the same exact position that I was in. There was a lot of people at the company that I worked at for the last 6 months where, these people are actually very highly capable individuals, but they just, whether for one reason or not, just didn't pursue their own things, or maybe were exhausted doing their own things, thus them pursuing something that they thought was going to be less demanding on their energy, but ultimately you're still working. And I think when you work for something you don't like, it's actually even more taxing than you working for yourself but not making quite enough to be super happy, at least from my own experience now. So that's kind of the reason why I'd rather be unemployed after working for 6 months and after going through several long years worth, maybe 2 years worth of looking for a job and then actually landing one and then quitting after 6 months. So that's just my thoughts, and that's what I've learned. I'm sure you guys may have different or differing opinions, so feel free to leave them down below. I will actually be uploading videos now more often, given that I do have a bit more free time, but I will still be focusing on some other, my jobs and my tasks at hand, because I still do have to generate money. So I am unfortunately not rich enough to just do this for fun. I have to do other things as well. So if you found this video entertaining or informative or helpful in any way, feel free to drop a comment. I am very active with engaging with people. Feel free to subscribe. I'll be sharing a lot of the things that I've been working on, and hopefully there is something of interest for those that come across this video. So take care, y'all.